And hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. If you were to ask me to do a roll call of the greatest members of the second generation of reggae artists that include the likes of Cocoa Tea and Luciano, there is no way I would leave out the incredible and mercurial force of nature known as Nasio Fontaine. He's not only among the absolute best of his generation, but easily slots in among the greatest non-Jamaican reggae artists that we've ever seen or may ever see. The great Winston Rodney of Burning Spear, in his 1995 song Legal Hustlers, described a section of the reggae community as hustlers riding on reggae's bandwagon and not being true believers in the messages that they sing about. Nasio Fontaine is without a doubt definitely not in that category. He is a true believer in Rastafari and has been an active force for unity, charity, justice, and the advancement of mankind, not just through his music, but in practical works that impact the world in real terms. Since his emergence with his debut album in 1990, Nasio Fontaine has amassed a passionate and I dare say fanatical fan base made up of millions of people around the world who are all drawn to his uplifting, spiritual and instructional lyrics delivered in his fervent singing style. He was in heavy demand for concerts around the globe and fans couldn't get enough of his music. But after the 2000s ended, Nasio Fontaine seemed to drop off the face of the earth, became invisible on the touring circuit, and even worse, stopped releasing new music, with no album released since 2006, all leading his superfans like yours truly to wonder where on earth is Nasio Fontaine. Let's take a look at what really happened to this Dominican maestro. Nasio Fontaine was born the last of 7 children to a Carib Indian mother and a father of African descent in a small village on the lovely little Caribbean island of Dominica. He had a flair for music as a child, which saw him idolize American soul artists like Otis Redding and Sam Cooke. But after sneaking out of his home to watch a popular Dominican band called Chubby and the Midnight Groovers, he would pivot into reggae music and became heavily influenced by Joseph Hill, Bob Marley, and Jacob Miller. In search of greener pastures, he went to live with his older siblings on the Caribbean island of St. Martin in 1981 at the age of 15. And he worked odd jobs for 5 years to save up money to record his first single titled Born to Be Free. That was a protest song about apartheid in South Africa. And without a promoter or record label, the teenager marketed the song all by himself and incredibly sold 5,000 cassettes on his own, making Born to Be Free the best-selling single in St. Martin's history. And with the money he had saved from that project, he again self-financed a mini album called Babylon is Falling in 1990 that made lots of impact and got plenty of airplay on radio stations on several Caribbean islands. And these are incredible exploits when you consider how expensive it was to record music in those times, and not to talk of mass-producing cassettes or records. And with the money he made off his mini album, he would travel to Jamaica to record his next album at the popular Mixing Lab Studios in Kingston in 1992. An elite studio that boasted of clientele like Sly and Robbie, Maxi Priest, and Bunny Wailer. He recorded 10 amazing songs before running out of cash to promote his music. It took him 2 whole years to finally get the money to make 2,000 CDs of the album titled Reggae Power. His efforts saw him bag a record deal for the first time with a US-based company named Affilion Productions. The album was eventually released in 1996 after a promotional tour of the US, and it really blew up commercially and critically. It was selected by Reggae Roots International magazine as Best Reggae Album of 1996 and was nominated for Best Reggae Album in the Jamaica and Canadian Reggae Awards. The album was also insanely popular in Africa and would earn him a literal army of fans. His next album, Revolution, that came out in 1999, really helped to expand his already growing profile. And by the time he released 2003's Living in the Positive, he truly became an international superstar. He was in heavy demand for concerts around the globe, and within 2006, played 2 legendary concerts in Sierra Leone. It was Nasio's first visit to the continent, and he learned that he was practically worshipped in that African state, as his music had inspired hope during that country's brutal civil war. If Living in the Positive had been big, then his next album, in 2006's Universal Cry, was a monster hit. He was by then touring with the biggest names in reggae music like Gregory Isaacs, Israel Vibration, Tony Rebel, Steel Pulse, and Culture. He would become the most famous person out of Dominica and was endowed with that country's second highest honor called the Cicero Award in 2007. To put it mildly, he was flying high, a reggae hero with a mission to spread love, unity, and the advancement of all people through his music. But suddenly, the man would disappear from the limelight. He stopped releasing music and quit touring. and the last known tour I'm aware of was the 2007 edition of the Summer Jam Festival in Cologne, Germany. And a while back, I did a full video about his life and career, and the most recurring comments that I got on that video was, where has he been? And it inspired me to do a heavy amount of digging to know why he's not been seen or heard of since by his fans. And honestly, I was scared I would find out that he was sick or even worse. But recently, I got to the bottom of why Nasio disappeared, and I'm pleased to report that Nasio is in perfect condition. Apparently, as his success exploded, he quickly became disillusioned with all the trappings of fame and superstardom. After the monumental success of his last two albums, in Living in the Positive and Universal Cry, he opted for a quiet life with his wife and kids, as opposed to endless trips and tours and several months on the road far away from home every single year, as is always the case with successful musicians. And seemingly content with his music going global with his message, he embraced the cause much closer to home, and in the last 17 years has been focused on making impact in his home country of Dominica. He retired from music and invested in large amounts of land and took on a day job as a farmer at his humongous farm in the Warner village where he lives, on the outskirts of the capital of Dominica. And he registered the Nasio Fontaine Foundation in the same year and has used it as a vehicle for positive change and impact ever since. His foundation regularly organizes programs to raise awareness on many issues affecting the island, like crime and domestic abuse, and has also risen to the challenge in times of national crisis, like when Tropical Storm Erica hit several places in the Caribbean, including Dominica in 2015. The Nasio Fontaine Foundation would make a big donation towards providing relief materials for victims of that disaster, and Nasio and his band played live on air at Q95 FM radio in the capital for several hours to raise donations towards providing relief for victims of the same disaster. Reggae artists have over the years received criticisms for not walking the talk and doing much to serve humanity with their money, but Nasio Fontaine definitely put such characters to shame. He's undoubtedly relishing his role as a pillar of his community and is a tireless worker who is showing no signs of slowing down. In the last interview that I saw of him, he was addressing the media after a violent crime took place in his neighborhood. He was the first person on the scene to take the injured victim to the hospital and was using his influence to pressure the police to work harder into apprehending the perpetrator. Nasio Fontaine has stepped away from music and from the looks of things isn't coming back anytime soon. Really sad stuff, as he was such an inspirational musician and messenger in an industry that's gradually losing true voices and genuine prophets like him. But I'm comforted that his 6 studio albums are always there to inspire, comfort, and instruct us in the face of Babylon's onslaught on the world today. But somewhere inside me, I still have a little hope that he may someday grace our eardrums with his beautiful music one last time. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.